Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Apex News Above the Noise podcast. I am Kyle Thompson. As always, I am joined by Craig Blanton. Craig, how we doing tonight?
Doing great. Lots of good
Great.
stories going on
We
tonight.
got some great stories tonight on Apex News Above the Noise. Frankfort settles an 18-year legal battle over the old YMCA. The city considers handing your trash service over to private companies. A weapons arrest at Kentucky State University raises new safety concerns. We're tracking a potentially dangerous storm coming into central Kentucky. We've got some sports, and of course, we always have more. We've got the timelines, the facts, and what it all means for you. So let's just get right into it. Let's start with one of the longest running sagas in Frankfort history when it comes to politics. The old YMCA building, better known as the Old Y. The story goes back all the way back to 1911. When the building was first constructed. It stopped being operated as a YMCA in 1971 and eventually fell into disrepair. In 2007, the city sold the property to a private developer for just $1 with the expectation it would be redeveloped. And of course, that never happened. Instead, the building has sat empty. We're going to talk about all of these topics related to the old YMCA and all of the facts around it. Craig, you have some quite a bit of timeline and things to talk about tonight. So I'll turn it over to you, and we'll talk about each of the issues here.
Well, put the first one up of when a lot of people thought the city originally owned the Y and sold it to Mr. Gray back in the day, but of course that's wrong. It was whoever printed it in the paper. You can see here, if you can see that the Erler family, Robert and Laurel Erler, sold it to Mr. Gray for $45,500 to Old Y Development LLC. And if you look him up on the Kentucky Secretary of State, you'll see that he's what's that term, Kyle? He's leading it. It's his LLC.
Oh, he was the member owner of the LLC.
Yeah, okay. Then pop over to the next one, and you can see in December 7 of 2007, the Old Y Development Corp sold the Old Y LLC. The Old Y Development Corp sold the business to Old Y LLC, which again is now it's Mr. Gray, and he bought it from himself for $1. So that moved it under him and under that new LLC. So go to the Secretary of State business file,
Yep.
Kyle.
Yeah, you got it. Let me give it 1 second. I'll get that up there for you.
So this shows as of 5/1/2025 that John H. Gray was the owner of the property and the manager of this LLC, Old Y LLC. Next. This will be the video of what the city settled the lawsuit to take possession of for $100,000.
Well, for some reason, it is
remember,
not.
we're new to this, so we're trying to play this technology all at once.
We'll get it.
Yeah. This is a video that I've shared on my Facebook page. One of many videos of the oldest Y, showing the condition over the years and has deteriorated from, every 6 months or so whenever I did the flyover with my drone.
Well, it's taken a bit.
Is it loading?
It is loading. Let's see if I can get it to.
And did I send you the picture of the flood around the old Y?
Yeah, I've got both those. Let me try the.
Might be the size of it, maybe.
Oh, I tell you what it is. Let me get this up here for you.
Okay. And I've also got a picture from when the flood hit Frankfort last year. How the oldest Y is inside the flood wall, on the river side of the flood wall, which many people have never understood, and which leads to further deterioration of the building. I don't know if it weakens the foundation or the brick or the mortar holding the brick or anything like that, but
I'm going to add a couple of pictures here while we're waiting on that to load. This is obviously the flood area as it was happening. Just
Yeah,
this
that's our
last
flood
in the last
wall.
year. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
There it
flood
is.
wall.
And
So you can see the Y's on the inside of the flood wall,
hmm
which I guess when they built this thing long ago, there was issues with trying to. I guess it was in the way. Even the federal government probably didn't want to deal with it when they put this flood wall up. So they just said the heck with it, went around it. And of course, we can see the result. You can see if you look inside on the bottom quarter of the video, you can see the brown water inside the oldest. I call it the oldest Y because we got several. We got three, or I guess. And you can see the brown water inside of there as it's surrounded. Um,
all right, I'm gonna play this video now.
I
Yeah.
would have had to tear that thing down decades ago.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, I wasn't
100%.
allowed to slide by. I wouldn't be filing 500 lawsuits to
Right.
stop it.
Right. Right.
Um, so now show the PVA valuation. This is current as of 2026, and then next year for 2027, $7,500. And remember, we settled the building wasn't purchased. The lawsuit was settled for $100,000.
So by 2016, the city had already started pushing for
Condemnation. Yeah,
to
they
to
condemned it
condemn.
in 2016.
Yeah, 2016, and obviously Franklin County Circuit Court. There was a filing that stepped in, and ever since then, so for the last 10 years, there has been litigation ongoing with this particular
Mm-hmm.
property. And
Now the
then
press release. There's a big press release, and buried in the middle of it was talking about the settlement of the Y. That's number 7, Kyle.
yeah, for some reason, number 7 didn't come up here. 7 and 8
Okay.
didn't come up. If
Nope.
you want to read, can you read what that press release
No, I
said?
got it over on my desktop.
Okay.
But it's just the settlement. Did you get the vote by the city commission?
I did. It was 4-0.
Yeah. No, I mean, did you get the video for that?
I do
And the
not have.
rate?
Yeah, I do not have the video on that one as well. My apologies. I don't know why these did download. I don't know why they're.
Okay. I think I know what it is, but we'll deal with that next time.
Well,
Then did you get the cable 10, the Monday, Wednesday,
yeah,
Friday 10 at
yeah,
10 thing?
yeah.
We play that.
Here
And I'll
is
look at
the
the press release.
yeah. We're uploading the press release at this point. Everything's a little bit slow. So what
I
we
know
can
why
take
it is.
away, yeah, what we can take away from this at this point is that if you fast forward to January of this year, the city voted 4-0 to settle all litigation and buy the property essentially back. I mean, at one point, it wasn't in the last 20 years, but it wasn't to essentially purchase the building, but it was to end the litigation and then allow the building to be transferred over. I think
Right.
part of the problem is that obviously, and one of the concerns is who the mayor's father-in-law is happens to be John Gray, and I think there was some concerns about that. I don't think there was personally. I don't think there was anything nefarious about it. Although I will tell you that one of the very very weird things about the settlement, if you saw the settlement and what was reported by the State Journal, that if the settlement terms were released or if the current mayor found out about the terms, then the settlement would increase immediately to $185,000. And I think that's the very, very weird thing about all of this. Obviously, that didn't happen, and everything has been handled in the courts as it's supposed to, and there's been transfer. But what is interesting about this, Craig, is that I think this is what people have a problem with in local city government and uh, with things that happen in small towns like this is these backroom deals. You know what
Yeah.
happened in the back rooms. I can tell you that from when I was on the city commission, it's not so much backroom deals as it is let's try to work out any of our issues with regard to city business before we walk in there, not making decisions. But if I have an issue with something that's coming up, you're talking to the city manager, you're talking to the city attorney. And so, do I think there's back room dealing going on? No, but if you didn't discuss some of your issues and work out some of the details behind the scenes, city commission meetings would be 12 hours long all the time, and
Right.
that's a little bit different than what we have here. I think one of the questions, and people have the biggest angst about this because what happens next? What's the next thing that's going to happen? Well, the next thing that's going to happen is it's going to be torn down. I mean, I think that's a given. When back in 2016, when they were discussing tearing it down, you were at $186,000 was the lowest bid. Now, construction costs and things of that nature, they have skyrocketed since then, right?
Yep.
So it's a situation where I do not believe that you're going to be able to remove all of that building and all of the details with that building for less than $1 million. There's just no way. And and while the legal fight may be over, the bigger question is what exactly is the city going to do at this point, and what's the timeline? That timeline is also tied to another city issue that we will discuss in a future date, and that is the replacement of the Singing Bridge.
Right.
And while that is in the background, they are intricately related because the foundation of whatever bridge comes along is going to be either connected to that same area or that space is going to be needed for that.
Yeah.
I know there's been a lot of talk that when is that going to happen, and we'll go into that a little bit more. I can tell you just from a little bit of insider knowledge that I've gotten from some folks working on that deal, we're nowhere close to that bridge being started. You're in design phase right now, and that is going to last for at least another year.
But yeah,
So
they've just sent out 3 designs for the public to pick.
right.
So I mean, it's at the very, very beginning of the design phase.
Yeah. And I think people need to understand that too, is that the city had to move on this now if they were going to do anything. Now, the flip side of that argument is could the state have used eminent domain? That is a possibility. And as somebody pointed out in one of the threads I was reading, yes, that could take 5 to 10 years.
Hmm.
Absolutely, it could take a long time. However, are they going to get it for $100,000? Probably a lot less, but you're going to have litigation costs that would be associated with the state. It would not. That's a state bridge. That's a state bridge
Right.
that's being
Yeah.
replaced. So you have to. It begs the question of why did we do it, and what was the purpose of it? I will say that a 4-0 vote. I know that the mayor pro
Explain the
tem.
4-0 vote.
Yeah.
Why it
So
was
the
just
4-0,
4.
yeah, the 4-0 vote was to decide whether to settle the litigation. And so they decided to do that. They were presented with an offer and they did that.
Why was it just 4?
Oh, it was just for because the mayor recused himself,
Right.
and he should have, and he did the right thing in doing that. I've butted heads with the mayor before on things. This is an issue that I don't think there was anything untoward going on there. I just don't. Does it look fantastic? No, it doesn't. But at the same time, there's just no other way around it. There's no way to fix this. And in a
Yeah.
town like Frankfort, where everybody's related or knows or other people in town, it wouldn't have been such a big deal if an out of towner had owned that building or something of
Yeah.
that
Let me
nature.
let me read the press release.
Yeah, go ahead.
To start off, people all over social media think the city. I mean, in the end result, John Gray ended up with $100,000,
Right.
but it's the words. The city didn't buy the building for $100,000. They settled the lawsuit for $100,000,
And
and
as
in
a portion of
settling, they took possession of the building itself.
right, it was
So,
transferred
in
to them.
yeah, in the end, it's all the same thing. The money, he still got the $100,000, but the city keeps pointing out that it was not a purchase; it was a settlement. And in the press release, you can see it's it's a big press release, but they got it buried down in there. It says the board, meaning the city commission, also approved the settlement of long-standing litigation related to the property at 106 Bridge Street, commonly known as the Old Y. Following nearly 18 years of administrative proceedings and legal action, the city reached final settlement with Old Y LLC. That's the one we talked about earlier, and
Hmm.
will take ownership of the property. Now, it was condemned in 2016. There was numerous times that they were given 7 days, 30 days, different things to tear the building down. I know there was a 7 day, you got to start demolishing the building back in 2018 or something like that, but it was years ago, and nothing happened, of course. And I think a lot of people's concern, if it was Jane or John Doe on Main Street, would they have still got the same breaks? Could they afford to file lawsuit after lawsuit?
Well, you also have to remember, this plays into it. Mr. Gray is an attorney, so
Right.
he's not paying out of pocket to litigate this matter, right? That plays into this as well. And the city obviously is paying outside counsel to litigate this matter, and they have for a number of years. So you're probably approaching tens of thousands of dollars in litigation costs you've already had,
And more, and more.
and more, and you were going to have more if you settled this matter. So I think uh, the good and bad. And I want to correct myself at the very beginning. I said that the city sold it for $1. The city did not own this property. I misstated that at the very beginning. This was owned
Uh,
by a private developer. It was sold to John Gray. John Gray transferred it, and I think that adds another layer. The State Journal. We'll talk about the State Journal a little bit on another
yeah,
issue, but
they
the
printed it
State Journal
wrong. I
they
just
they
didn't
printed it
include
wrong.
it. Yeah, I didn't include it in our stuff, but they said that the city bought it for $1, and that's incorrect.
Yeah. So I think from this point forward, I think you will see an active notion from the city commission that they will do their absolute very best to create some type of park system or something around there. At least I would hope that they would. Now you spend all that money, and by the way, this is just a fraction of the dollars that they're going to spend on this property. This property is
Yeah,
going to cost the city and the taxpayers quite a bit more just to remove everything. And
right,
we haven't even gotten into the point, Craig, that there could be hazardous waste that needs to be removed from there and all sorts of things.
right. The several people on these pages have mentioned the asbestos in it. So
Hmm.
I checked with city commissioner, and the asbestos tests have already been done, and they found very little asbestos in the property. So it's
That
not
is
going to be a
that
huge
is
cost.
shock that is
Yeah,
shocking considering
right.
the age of
It'll
the
save
building. But
that'll save just a vast amount of taxpayer dollars
yeah,
to get rid of the asbestos if there was any in there. Um,
yeah.
is
All right.
the let's see. There was another video. We showed the video of it going over, and then the vote by the city commission. Was that able to load?
It did not. It didn't load either.
I know,
I think
yeah.
these MP4s are the
Well,
problem. But
I know what it
we'll
is.
get 'em. Yeah.
I know what it is. It won't happen again. I know what it
Well,
is.
the long story short on this, wrapping up this one story, is that that portion, that litigation, is closed. The city of Frankfort's moving on. Uh, there we are moving forward with the bridge design, which will be intricately involved in that. The city will control that section of the property at this point, and for all intents and purposes, that issue has moved on. And whether people want to
But
address it,
it's still out there. So one more
it
time,
is. Uh,
the city settled a lawsuit
That's
for
correct.
100,000. They did
That's
not
correct.
purchase the building for 100,000. Now the owner gets the 100 grand either way, but just to eliminate that talking point that the city bought that building, that the PVA's got valued at 7,500, and you've seen my videos of how dilapidated it is. Just Kyle, that lawsuit stuff at your world.
Yeah.
Um, but from what I've been told, and I'm sure what you've been told, it saved tens of thousands of dollars of further litigation costs.
It did, because we were still going to have to acquire it, and we were still going to have to deal with it. Now, whether the state could have gotten involved, that's another talking point that somebody could
Hmm.
be involved with. We
Yeah.
got to move on. Got to move on to the next story. Everybody's been waiting to hear about this one. The city of Frankfort. We're going to talk about one of the biggest issues that's hitting every household in Frankfort, and that is your trash service. Right now, the city handles garbage and recycling, and there's no direct monthly bill for it. And I will also tell you this, but um, that issue has come up of what are we going to do, because the city at this point has decided that they are going to privatize our garbage system. Now, there's a couple of things. There was a city commission meeting on Monday. If you want to go back and watch that on Cable 10, you can. It is right at the 22-minute mark that discusses this, and it lasts for about 40 minutes when there is a vote, and that vote is 4-1 in favor of this. The one lone vote being Commissioner Unger voting against this, and she makes good points. All of them made good points. Commissioner Richardson as well, and the others. But this goes back a number of years, Craig, in dealing with. We are the only city and municipality of our size that still provides um, uh, garbage pickup and recycling pickup without a fee. And
Right.
that is a big deal. And I understand that the people in the comment section are going to point out, yes, but we pay taxes, and those taxes pay for XYZ. You can have that opinion, and that's fine. The problem with that is that every other municipality also pays their own city and local taxes, and they also charge a garbage collection fee. Frankfort has been one of those cities that has pushed against doing that for many years, and now the city is faced with the financial decision of deciding whether it is in the best interest of the city moving forward and providing those services. Now, that being said, one of the talking points that people are most upset about, Craig, is that
I'm looking
people
at
are
something
saying,
else too.
yeah, people are saying, I don't want to pay a fee for garbage service. And let me tell you this, no city commissioner and the mayor, nobody at the city has said that they are going to, at this point, impose a city collection fee. It was
Right.
stated in the city meeting. There was a discussion that came up about individuals, households, and landlords. They didn't want to pay a fee for this because it was going to be a significant amount of money. The mayor and Commissioner Richardson went out of their way to say they have never said that they are going to impose a fee for trash pickup. In fact, Commissioner Richardson specifically said, from this point forward, for his opinion, do not read the State Journal because they got it completely wrong. It wasn't even close to being correct, and he never said that. And all of 5 commissioners agreed that that is
Are
not
those
what happened.
videos not popping up either?
We have those videos.
Okay.
We can show those. But I will tell you that um, the discussion that occurred on Monday was deep, and the question became, what is the best interest of the individuals moving forward with regard to the. I'm going to bring that up right now. I'm going to bring that presentation up.
Yeah. You got the citizen comment too, because he made some good points of what you were just paraphrasing.
Yeah, let's get that up here.
But I know exactly what the issue is with it's a huge file, and it shouldn't be because it's only a 1-minute video.
Yeah, those are that this one as well is not wanting to show. So our apologies on that, but
you want me to pop over and get it real quick?
It's not that we can't pop them up. The problem is that I can't bring them up on screen. And we'll paraphrase what happened. The citizen comments were there, and the vote was 4-1. I will tell you that Commissioner Unger made a very good point, and I appreciate her point here. She specifically said, no one has said we're going to impose a fee. but when are we going to impose a fee? Because there comes a point where right now the city's budget, it will be cheaper in this first year of a 5-year contract to provide services, and the city's paying an outsourced company to provide the pickup. But at the end of year two, uh, that it is actually going to be more expensive than them providing the service as they are in year one of that contract. So the point she made is at some point, it's very likely once we outsource this to another group, and that's how the vote was phrased as an outsourcing. It's not privatization; it's outsourcing, and the city is still paying for those amounts. The question becomes with outsourcing, who's going to pay for it when it exceeds the current fiscal amount that the city can endure? Now, what they have also said is that their current staff, they want to keep their current staff on board and providing services in other areas. But I will tell you this, one of the comments that Commissioner Richardson pointed out is that after they made their appropriation changes, amendments this last week, they are just $1 million, Craig, above the $11 million that they are required by statute and local ordinance to have in their reserves. So we are dangerously close to a financial issue with the city. And I think it would be disingenuous to say, as Commissioner Unger pointed out, that at some point a fee is going to come down the pipe.
Remember, what's Andrew, the former assistant city manager, Andrew Hartley?
Yeah.
His March 10, 2025 meeting talked about city's got a lot of things to do before the early part of 2028, or city's going to go broke. And they're trying to do that now. They're moving money around from pot A to pot B. But as it's been pointed out by Commissioner numerous times, that can only happen once.
Right.
So when you're saying they're $1 million above their rainy day fund, their statutorily required rainy day fund of being able to operate for 3 months, we're with the path that Andrew predicted, we're getting there, and we've got to early 2028 to figure this out.
And we've talked about a couple of issues already on this show. Taylor Avenue, some other issues. If there were to be an emergency need for money, Frankfort, would be in a world of hurt. Just to be quite blunt. And I believe Commissioner Unger is correct. As she said, once you outsource this, she even said outsourced it because it's privatization versus outsourcing. I think we're just
different
words for the same thing. It's never coming back, right? Once we outsource this, it's never going to be a city-controlled entity that is waste disposal at this point. And I think she's very right. And because of that, and by the way, this is a 5-year contract that they have agreed to enter into agreement on, and then with a 5-year extension. So you're 10 years down the road, right? And they already have the budget predictions, and they know that at the end of next year, it's already going to cost the city more money than the city currently pays in-house. So I would say it would be incredibly disingenuous to say that is not coming down the pike very, very soon. Would you agree, Craig?
Yeah, it's not a disaster by no means.
No.
But it's something that, remember the pay-as-you-throw thing Commissioner Wilder started? There were people that just flat out refused to pay that $5.
Yep.
And so there were so many that refused to pay it, and there wasn't a mechanism to collect it or do whatever the city had to do. They just canceled the whole program. Now, if it comes to a monthly thing here, people on social media said, well, people just start dumping it on the side of the road like they did Snow Hill back in the day. They'll start burning it in their yards and all those kind of things. So this is a huge issue for the city. They're trying to work it out. Trash trucks are not cheaper. There was one thing they said that I didn't understand was, and I'm probably completely wrong, that they would have to replace 2 trash trucks every year. Now that's not there's no way in the world that's true
Oh,
because
I no, I will tell you it is true because those
it
trash
can't
trucks
be.
are the trash trucks are already, old and nearly outdated.
No, I mean
So
from year to year. Well, maybe I took it wrong. After they get the new ones in, if they can afford to get them, then once they got on that cycle, they would have to replace them every couple of years, and that's not true because if the chassis from my fleet management days, one of the ways we saved the state taxpayers money, we would just replace the box on the vehicle and keep the chassis, meaning the truck part, truck and the rear wheels, and that would save 40% of the cost of the vehicle. So
entirely
it needs to be
possible.
explained more.
Yep.
They need to get it more into what the vehicle costs are going to be because trash trucks aren't cheap.
Well,
And
and now it's not gonna well, I mean, I think that ship has sailed at this point, to be quite honest with you. I think that now that they've
they haven't
agreed
signed
to
nothing yet. Nothing
they haven't
signed.
signed anything, but they have had a vote 4-1 that specifically says that they have agreed to outsource at this point. I will also say that one of the other things there were a couple of folks who showed up and talked about the burden that this would be, um, and Commissioner Smith Willis even agreed. She even said, "When will a fee have to be charged?" And she said that may be something that they'll have to address down the road. One of my fears has always been, even when I was on the city commission, that you make a decision today that affects a city commission 10 years down the road.
Right.
And many times those are not the same people on there. Even your mayor is usually gone in 12 years. So it's a frustrating proposition. It's also something that you have to take into account understanding the fiscal nature of the city right now. The city is being, I mean, when Commissioner Richardson said that the other night, that was the first indication that they knew that there was a true fiscal issue coming down
Yeah.
the road very quickly. So,
But we'll
uh,
get the videos squared away because the citizen comment, we can show them tomorrow.
yeah,
The citizen comment, what I thought was very appropriate. He had to rush down there to get there, and he noted that and some other things.
I will say let me talk about that
Okay.
before we move on to the next story. But he did say that there were a number of property owners and members of the public who were very frustrated because a previously scheduled meeting of Public Works Committee was canceled at the last minute. It was supposed to be at 10 a.m. on maybe a Tuesday or something, the Tuesday
Yeah.
before, and it was canceled. He was very frustrated about that. And then when he appeared that day, he was very frustrated as well. I will say
Which
that the mayor
led
pointed,
which
yeah,
led to Rob going on
yeah,
his
his his
talking
rant,
points.
and he's correct. The problem with our local news media is that there's very few of them, right? And
Three.
they,
Three.
yeah, three total, and one of them focuses on sports. And when I started 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we had a member of the State Journal at each meeting. They don't even have that anymore.
Right.
So it's almost like word of mouth and discussion points. What's actually happening at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see, and I'm interested to see where we go from there. We got to move on to our next story.
Okay.
Now on to Kentucky State. Kentucky State University, where a new arrest this week is putting campus safety back in the spotlight. On March 23rd, campus police arrested a 19-year-old student after spotting what appeared to be an AR-style pistol. I'm not quite certain what that is, but inside a backpack.
It's
Yeah,
a short stock
yeah.
AR-15.
It is. It's an interesting way of putting that, though. An AR style pistol inside a backpack near Thoroughbred Hall. That student is now facing charges for unlawful possession of a weapon on school property. The university says the situation was handled safely, but this comes just months, as many people can remember, after a deadly shooting on campus, where back in December, one student was killed and another was critically injured near Young Hall. There was also another shooting in August of 2025, where two people were injured. Now, the university and local authorities have said that shooting in August of 2025 was not related to students. The students were not the perpetrators of that. However, it happened on campus, and that's one of the concerns. And that is an issue that affects our city. It's right in the middle of downtown. Um, but at the same time, KSU is trying to rebuild. Enrollment dropped significantly over the last few years, but has now rebounded, at least on their numbers, to 2,900 students. But here's the catch: a large portion of that growth is coming from online enrollment, not just students physically on campus. Financially, the university has made progress, but it's not necessarily out of the woods yet. Reports show past cash deficits, uh, and at the end of last fiscal year, the school reported $1 million in their cash deficit, and an ongoing concern about long-term stability. So the reality at this point, Craig, is KSU is improving, but it's not fully stable. And when you combine financial pressure with rising safety concerns, that's a situation that requires attention moving forward. What adds to this is in 2024, the Kentucky State Legislature, I believe it was Brandon Smith, specifically said, we're going to appropriate $24 million to help Kentucky State get out of the financial burdens and issues that they're having. But this is it. If they don't get on their feet, that the legislature is not going come to the rescue in the future. This is important to the city of Frankfort. This is our university. We want this university. Craig, you have a special place in your heart for K-State. What does this mean to you as someone who knows the university well and want to see it
I just
do
sent
well?
you a picture of an AR-15 pistol, if you can bring that up. And but when the legislature gave them $5 million back in 2016, and 21 million in this last go around, and said that's it. And now KSU has to report annually to the legislature on their financial condition. And from the contacts I've got at KSU, they're in the black now, but barely in the black. So that's a good thing. No more, losing money. I guess they're collecting all their bills and all that stuff. But they had a issue with a food contract for a while there. Yeah, there's your AR-15 pistol, according to the internet. When I
Yeah.
typed in AR-15 pistol, this is what many of them like that came up. We do several things with the campus, and they've got the new $50 million dormitory, which is great. That's where the shooting of the father son, when they were bullying those two boys. One of them was on KSU's baseball team. That occurred at those new dorms. They at the beginning of the year they had trouble. They didn't have food for the students. Former Commissioner Waldridge, I think, helped gather some food up for that, and Sonia Sanders, and but they're working through all the issues. They've had some more gunplay this year than I can ever remember. They had one drive by right at the very first day when the parents are bringing the freshmen into the school.
Yeah, it was in August.
Yeah, they never figured out who. Well, I never heard about that again. Never made the newspaper or nothing. And now I learned today that the police chief that I knew, great guy, he's no longer there. They got an interim police chief. They're working through that. And I called some contacts on campus today, and I got zero word. They said, we cannot talk about it. So they're keeping it tight-lipped. They're only going to go through their press office, and which I guess is normal for these kind of situations. But they've been told not to discuss because they're concerned about it hurting their image.
Well, and we want K-State to succeed as a
We have
community.
to have K-State succeed.
We have,
And
yeah.
they've got to succeed.
So we want to see good things happen, and hopefully our local officials can work together to provide some updates on that information soon. We're really pulling for K-State, and we hope that they can start to.
Local business owners can, just like we help the high schools. I help the baseball team. I help the College of Business. I've done things for the football team before. I've done things for the men and women's basketball team. So if we could get other businesses to help up, to stand up and help KSU with food, or maybe they need some new basketballs, or anything like that. It'd be cool for the business owners of Frankfort to step in and get together with our university like we don't today.
Yeah, it's definitely important that we do that. Craig, we are going to move on to our next story. We have some weather advisory coming in tomorrow. It's important to us that we're able to share this with you guys. You know, we had some beautiful weather over the last couple of days, and tomorrow we're going to have actually very beautiful weather during the day. It's going to be near 80 degrees, but overnight it's going to drop 30 degrees.
Yeah.
There is damaging winds, potentially 55 to 70 miles per hour. Heavy rain and lightning is quite possible, and even isolated tornadoes. We are in that spring tornado time, and you got to be ready. And so it's important that everyone is keeps their head on a swivel, as I was always told as a kid. Things to keep in mind: make sure tomorrow night when you go to bed that you charge your phone and that you check the alerts on your phone. Make sure you secure your outdoor items. A lot of folks have already started putting out, outdoor furniture and things of that nature. Make sure you secure those items down, especially umbrellas. They will take off. I have personal experience with that, chasing down umbrellas as well as um, and my wife has as well. Know your safe place, whether that's inside uh, a bathroom or a cellar or your basement. Make sure you know where that safe place is. And if you hear those warnings issued and if you hear those sirens, make sure that you take shelter. Just keep an eye on the weather. It's just important that you do that. It's just that time of year. Make sure that you get all that together and go from there. That's just a little weather advice as we move forward.
Well, let's touch a
Uh,
little bit more on it. Let's get a little bit of
yep,
the nuts and bolts of it.
yep,
Last storm, when the tornado sirens went off, people in other parts of the county didn't said they didn't go off in their area. Well, if you watch the weather, there'll be a box that they'll show the tornado warning. So the tornado warning only goes is issued to, like last storm we had, northern part of Franklin County, southwest to northeast, that top side. The other part of town, there's a lot of people complaining they didn't hear the sirens or they weren't notified. It's because they were not in the warning box. I checked with Ray Kinney, the head of the EMS here in Franklin County, and he confirmed that. And I also asked him, I said, how are the tornado sirens engaged? I said, are they kicked off by the tornado warning in Oklahoma City where they issue all the tornado warnings? He said, no, they get their information from EAS and some other acronym, and then they make the decision. They manually set off the tornado sirens. Now, we are one of the places that tests them once a month. A lot of places don't do that, and that way they can tell when they're going off. And a tornado siren is only for the folks that are outside. It is not built to be heard in your house. A lot of them, people can hear them in their house, but you see people say, "Well, I didn't hear the tornado siren." It's because you weren't outside or you were asleep.
right.
That's why they recommend getting weather radios, setting up your phone for weather alerts, and leaving your volume up at night so you can hear them, so you can run down to your safe place. Like when we built our house, I've got a room that's got concrete on three sides. It's under 9 feet of dirt, and if something happened that it sucked the house away, if a tornado hit us directly, I believe we would be able to survive it. You never know. But and then Governor Bashir just signed something that a bill that went through the House and the Senate that if you build a quote safe space in your house, they'll refund up to 50% of the cost to a maximum of $5,000 to try to help you survive the severe weather. So there's that just was signed Monday, I believe. So
This is
there's some things that people are trying to help. We want to get the thing about the tornado sirens being for outside only, and to purchase a weather radio or set your phone up to where you get your weather alerts and leave your volume up at night on like what we're going to have tomorrow night.
tomorrow afternoon. It's going to be in the 80s. It's going to be a very pretty day, but this is a classic spring setup. Warm air ahead of cold front, which could bring those damaging winds, the heavy rain, possibly isolated tornado activity. This is all possibility at this point. Obviously, things can change. If it does happen, make sure that you take shelter, stay off the roads, and use flashlights if you lose power. You have a full day now. You can go ahead and get prepared for that. And
And
this is in no way trying to um, alarm anyone, but these
make
spring
them aware.
storms, make them aware. These spring storms are not fun. So go ahead and do what you can. So
And we're
uh,
going to be, so you're going to be um, 83 tomorrow. And then Friday night, temperature's going to drop all the way to 29.
yeah, yeah. So
So get
you're
prepared.
looking at you're looking at a 50-degree change in just a couple
Yeah.
days. So
Yeah.
so you have a full day. Go to Walmart, go to Kroger, get the things that you need. Get your milk and bread for your milk sandwiches. I guess I've never understood that concept, but go ahead and do it
It's
now.
poor people
Uh,
stuff.
yeah, go ahead and I will say, Craig, Katricia Waldridge said, "Thank you, Craig and Da Vinci's, for your KSU support and community engagement." Thank you for watching, former Commissioner Waldridge. She's also a candidate for City Commission again. So thank you for watching and keeping up with us as well. Um, Moving on to our, let's go ahead and move right into local sports. I think this is actually a good time to do that as well. It is baseball and softball season. So we will start off with the softball scores. Frankfort High Lady Panthers ran into a buzzsaw at Connor, falling 15-0 yesterday, and will be taking on the Lady Flyers on the east side tomorrow night. Speaking of those Lady Flyers, they fell last night to the Lady Breads of Harrison County in the 2A District 5 championship. Now, it was 13-0, but they did come away with the district runner-up and earn that trophy. As we mentioned, they will be taking on their district foe in the crosstown rival Frankfort Panthers tomorrow night at Sally Gaines Field. The Lady Wolverines lost to Tate's Creek 22-15 in a high-scoring affair in Lexington,
Wow.
and we'll try. I know it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's like some of those scores that you had down at Capitol View Park, right?
Yeah. And then adult male softball. Yeah.
That's right. And they will try and get back on the right side of the scoreboard tomorrow night as they will be taking on Eastern High School at home on the west side of town. Moving over into the baseball scores, Frankfort High last night, they lost. Frankfort High last night defeated Berea in the All A tournament 11-2. The Panthers are taking on Lexington Christian tonight at the All A tournament at Model Laboratory. Frankfort Christian Academy defeated Williamstown. Go Royals. They will take on Shawnee in Louisville tomorrow night. Franklin County, the Flyers
Keep this
fell to.
graphic up. Keep this
What's that?
graphic up. Say, keep this graphic up when you're done.
Yeah, okay. Franklin County, the Flyers fell to Boyle County last night 9-3, and they'll try to get on the right side of the ship, and they'll try to right the ship on Friday night versus George Rogers Clark at home. Go out there and support those Flyers. While Western Hills fell to the Lexington Catholic Knights at home 4-1, but are taking on Mercer County tonight. Actually, right now, getting ready, warming up, trying to bounce back in the win column.
Okay, just some local celebrity type stuff. Governor Bashir's son plays at Frankfort High, and he's a pretty good baseball player from the videos I've seen.
Yeah.
Franklin County is coached by former Major League player J.T. Riddle, who was Mr. Baseball, played at Western Hills originally before he went pro. And then at Western Hills, Congressman Comer's son plays baseball.
Yeah, so we've got a
pretty neat little thing there.
Pretty neat little group there of young kids. Good on these kids for getting out there. The weather has not been awesome over the last few months, and they started their practices a couple months ago, and they're just now enjoying some good weather. And it looks like it's going to be super cold on Friday for some of these games that we have going on, but is what it is. Go out and support those local teams. I will tell you that Franklin County has an alumni night coming up April 21st, maybe. I'll check that to be sure. That is the night they're playing Western Hills. If you are a Franklin County girls alumni, make sure that you reach out to the team. I actually have a contact here, and I'll find it before we go off the air. But if I don't, we'll announce it another night. But
What?
a contact for the alumni night at
Oh,
Franklin
okay.
County High School.
I've got one more thing to add that's going to be good for you and I on
Yeah, go
the
for
high
it.
school athletics.
Yeah.
On the girls softball, Da Vinci's is donating a medium pizza every game to some lucky fan that they announce out of the score box to get a free Da Vinci's pizza. And then on the Franklin County football side, Kyle and I both got signage up, but I would like to thank Kyle publicly for his donation to the Franklin County school sports system. Kyle donated $45,000. He's the headliner on the football scoreboard, and money went to the football team. Was it? And what were the other two?
The boys and girls soccer team and the girls basketball teams.
Yeah.
All teams that affected our family and that we've been very good to us over the years.
Yeah, and so you got two local business owners that are pitching in to help our schools, and we're asking if other businesses want to do these kind of things. If you want to feed the team, we do that too. We do a lot of the food stuff, of course, but if you want to, buy a meal for the team, I'm sure they would appreciate it. A pregame meal or pre-day meal the day before they go out of town to play. I'm sure they would love that.
Here is the information on alumni night for the Franklin County girls softball team. I know a ton of you that I went to high school with who were softball players. And if you are interested, the contact information is down there. Contact Morgan at 502-320-4079, or her email is on there as well, morgan.gilbert@franklin.kyschools.us. Sounds like it's going to be a good time to discuss the great legacy that started many, many years ago with the great Sally Gaines and those ladies who helped bring on this
great
program.
Softball teams. They have. The girls softball team has been really good.
Yeah. So if you get a chance this year, go out and see these baseball and softball kids at any of these schools. They got a lot of really good talent, some kids who are going to play in college. They are coached by local folks. Do what you can to go out there and support these folks. There's other, I'll go ahead and say this. We sent out a message today, an email as well, and text messages. If you have local sports scores, if you have local extracurricular student accomplishments, send those to us. We want to brag on your kids on the air. We want your kids to get their druthers and be able to be rewarded for all of their hard work. Send that to us along with game summaries and highlights, and we are happy to put them on.
Yeah,
and videos, and we'll put them on.
Great slide, home run, something like that. Send those to us.
Yeah, it'll be great. We're really looking forward to that. So, anything else on the sports you want to bring up?
No, I think we've covered that pretty well. We got the new park going in at Lakeview with the 7 youth girls softball, youth boys baseball, and potentially the college women's softball. They play at the same size field. That will be what they're doing. What I've seen so far, that will be a spectacular field, and we've got something that other places don't have. We've got location.
Yeah,
So
right in the middle, right in the heart. Yeah, and
we'll take some business away from Bowling Green, and they're great down there.
Yeah, and over in Elizabethtown too, and big props to the fiscal court and what they have done over there, to Michael Mueller and those guys, and good job getting that done. It will affect us this season. They're in the middle of building that right now, but come next year, it will be spectacular.
And Scotty Tracy. Scotty Tracy big on that too.
Yep, Scotty Tracy as well. Before we get out of here, Craig, let me bring up the. This is our feel-good story of the day, if you will, Craig. This is our feel-good story of the day. Before we get out of here tonight, a reminder that people still show up when it matters most. In Kansas City, 2 strangers are being called heroes after pulling a man from a burning car. The driver had crashed into a bridge pillar, and within seconds, the car was on fire. as he called for help. Two men, Bill Frey and Sam Fleming, ran in, pulled him out, and got him to safety just before the flames took over. The man survived, and the two men didn't even stick around for the attention. They just walked away. They were later tracked down, recognized by local authorities for their bravery. Sometimes it's just being in the right place and choosing to do the right thing.
Pull that graphic so we can see the car.
Yeah, I can.
There you go. It was a big crash.
It was a big crash, and good on them for doing the right thing. We have talked a lot tonight about big decisions, real impacts, and stories that matter. We're going to do this on a daily basis. So we want you guys to send us information, talk to us about the things that you want us to talk about on here, and we'll bring on the guests and the local officials to be able to talk about the things that we've talked about tonight. I am Kyle Thompson. This is Apex News Above the Noise podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the podcast with all of your friends if you want news without the spin, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Craig.
Yep.